Vin Bonventuri from Albany Law School, glad to have you back.
Always great to be with you, Dan.
Absolutely. So we're talking about the Court of Appeals, again, obviously. Now the two judges that the governor has picked have been confirmed by the Senate, so they will start serving on the Court of Appeals immediately. They don't actually have session for a little bit. But I want to talk first, I want to go through both of the judges that were confirmed. Let's talk about Madeleine Tsingis first, because she caused more controversy than Anthony Cannataro, the other nominee. And that's because she is the former Nassau County DA. So Vin, how do you see her shifting the court? We talked before about how this is a conservative court in terms of New York conservatism, but do you see her shifting that more towards that conservative side?
Well, Dan, you know, when she's on the court, she'll be wearing a robe. She'll be at the pinnacle of the legal profession. You know, it's not as though there will be aspirations on her part to go higher than that. And so you don't know. We've had prosecutors in the past who've turned out to be some of the very finest judges on the Court of Appeals in its history. Having said that, yeah, you know, there's always the but.
There's always the but.
There's always the but. And you know, as a total nerd and geek about the Court of Appeals, I look into these things. I just don't see anything obvious in Madeleine Tsingis's record to suggest that she's well qualified to be on a court of last resort. She might be. And it could be that the governor has some insights about her. Maybe Chief Judge Janet DiFiore knows her well and knows about her. I'm just saying, on the record, it's certainly not evident, and it wasn't evident to most of the bar associations around the state. I mean, she was barely approved, and some of the bar associations said no, not approved, and they argued that she ought to be rejected. So we're not talking about whether she will be a great judge, and of course we hope she will be a great judge, but there's nothing in the public record that would suggest that.
Right, the New York State Bar Association, when they were developing the lists of the nominees and they went out, the Bar Association evaluated them as qualified or highly qualified, and Madeleine Tsingis did not get the highly qualified. And I think that said a lot to the various legal groups that to take a closer look at her and maybe see like what's on the record about her. But on that note, Chief Judge Janet DiFiore was a prosecutor when she was nominated. She was the Westchester County District Attorney. Did we see her shift the court to the more conservative side when she came in, or was it kind of going that way already?
No, under Jonathan Lippman, the court was pretty bold, pretty progressive. Janet DiFiore has been much more conservative, at least in criminal cases, not necessarily on the social issues, but certainly in the criminal cases, she has been much more pro-prosecution than he was. So there's been quite a shift in the court over the last several years. And it's not just the decisions of the court, but the kinds of cases and the number of cases that the court is accepting for review. So, for example, the court today, the judges on the court are accepting about 1/3 the number of criminal appeals that they did when Lippman happened to be chief, right? So it went from an average of about 90 a year, that is, that the judges would accept for appeal, now down to about 30. So, you know, that's quite extraordinary. And that's why the criminal defense bar is so upset about Cuomo nominating Madeleine Tsingis, because they figure she's going to be another pro-prosecution judge who, again, is not going to give the opportunity to criminal defense lawyers to have their cases heard at the Court of Appeals.
It's fascinating. And I want to switch gears to the new other judge, Anthony Cannataro. He has been on the bench. He was previously, before he was confirmed, the administrative judge of the New York City Civil Court. So that's obviously a much different position than what Madeleine Tsingis was in. And unlike her, he was determined to be highly qualified by those bar associations. So how do we see him shifting the court? And when we talked before, it was more of like these judges that were retiring. we're kind of like in the middle. So, and I see him as
Yes.
maybe being the same way, but I'd like to hear you on that.
It's just not clear about him. Now, you know, he's the second openly gay judge to have been appointed to the Court of Appeals. And many of us celebrate that because of the savage discrimination historically. And, you know, the Court of Appeals until recently has not particularly been great with regard to fighting discrimination. He also served as a law clerk to a judge on the Court of Appeals, and a quite liberal, socially and politically liberal judge. That's Carmen Saparic. So in terms of qualifications, let's start with that. His record shows that he probably understands the importance of a court of last resort and how decisions are actually made, right? And he's been a judge, so he knows the role of a neutral judge. And like the bar associations that rated him much more favorably than they did Madeline Singis, it seems from his record that he probably is going to do a pretty darn good job at the Court of Appeals. He also studied the classics at Columbia as an undergrad, which to me is a definite positive.
So the Court of Appeals doesn't meet again until late August, early September, right?
Yes.
So it'll be really interesting to see when that happens, because that's going to be the first opportunity for us to see
Yes.
how these two judges act when they're hearing these
Yes.
arguments. And unlike the U.S. Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals in New York actually live streams on the web their arguments. So anybody watching this, I would encourage them to take a look.
right.
It's really interesting. But we do have to leave it there. Vin Bonventuri from Albany Law School, thank you so much, as always, for your analysis.
And thanks for inviting me, Dan.